Conservative activist James O'Keefe, who's known for his undercover journalism, is going to be paying out big $100,000 to one of the people. This is Juan Carlos Vera from one of the famous videos that he put out. So he's got a pretty interesting quote where he does not admit defeat. He doesn't admit that he did anything wrong, even though he's paying out the $100,000. He says, "There comes a time when the cost to defend yourself against meritless accusations becomes so burdensome financially and personally, it's simply too great. The settlement admits no liability and there is no benefit from extending this ridiculous lawsuit. Sadly, this is the cost of exposing the truth. That's why so few people do it." It's an interesting take.
Yeah, it would actually be the cost of breaking the law and then getting sued. See, here's my guess: the conservative activist is not going to give $100,000 of his money to somebody from ACORN because they didn't deserve it. They're like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna take it easy on the ACORN guy. I'll give him $100,000, even though he doesn't really deserve it. No, my guess is he does.
By the way, the point at which it's not worth it to defend yourself or the money cost, I think is after you would have to pay $100,000. Like, I would keep going. Yeah, I'm just saying, if like the border is $100. All right, fine. Here you go. $100,000. That's a little. So he accused this guy essentially of being willing to participate in the smuggling of underage girls into the United States. That's the video in question, the doctored video in question, or the video. But anyway, what he didn't do was follow up with the guy, because what the guy did after apparently going along with it was call the police.
Yeah.
And alert them.
Before the video had been posted.
Right, before the video. Immediately, he called the police. He's like, oh, this seems like a crime. He who knows why he went along with it, apparently, to not get injured, whatever it was, doesn't matter. The guy did the right thing. And James O'Keefe didn't mention that fact. Yeah. Left it out.
So let's just review real quick. It turns out the video was enormously edited. He did not walk in a pimp costume and say, hey, I'd like to bring in child prostitutes. He walked in a perfectly normal costume, said, I'd like to bring in child prostitutes, and then the ACORN guy turned him into the police, okay? And before the video, the doctored video ever hit the internet. Now, we found out the video was in fact, part of the reason that we found out how doctored it was because, John, how many different attorney generals looked into this case?
I actually do not have the numbers with me, but I do know California, Massachusetts was another one, and I believe there was one other that all put out independent reports saying that it had been, because they gave him immunity in their states, I guess, to get the actual raw footage, and then they compared it to what came out, and it was just ridiculously edited.
Right, and Brooklyn looked into it too, and every single one of them came to the conclusion, no, ACORN was not at all criminally culpable. Turns out that it was massively edited. ACORN was not encouraging prostitution in any way, shape, or form. So all of this was a fraud. Luckily, since it was exposed as a fraud, ACORN is still alive and well and really helping the community as it was. What it was doing, other than helping people to register to vote, to exercise their rights in a democracy, it would help them if a slumlord was crushing them, for example, right? It would help them to get heating so they wouldn't die in the winter. Oh, things like that. So luckily, they're still in business, right, John?
Not so much. Although you might be distracted by the fact that there are still occasionally bills that come out where the Republicans are saying no money can go towards ACORN, even though ACORN doesn't exist anymore. But no, ACORN was defunded. This is back in 2009. So we actually have some numbers I think that you wanted to talk about. So if you can bring up the first graphic, you see that the Democrats actually in the end overwhelmingly supported defunding ACORN.
God, look at that. By the way, look at that majority.
Yeah, no. I love this number.
By the way, that's too many members of. Oh, you were counting the Senate in that?
In that number?
Must be.
Yeah, that seems like too much. No, possibly right. That should just be the House, unless it was.
Let me just see that for a second.
Yeah.
No, it's like
I guess that's right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, like 350.
Possibly have a few abstentions or voting present or something.
No, that's just the House. Okay, we have the Senate in a second.
Yeah.
So I love that number because it wasn't just the Republicans who killed it. The idiot, weak, cowardly Democrats participated in killing a program that not only helped a great deal of Americans, but also registered the poor to vote. And let's be honest, the poor are more likely to vote Democratic, okay? And helped destroy an organization that did not intend to help them, but had a side effect of helping them. And they helped to bury them for no reason because of their overwhelming cowardice.
Yeah, they, the good news is that if there's a small bit of good news, it's that the ACORN was at least a point where it was the end of that tactic working. I mean, it worked incredibly well. We saw what happens if you sort of have an orchestrated media campaign to discredit someone. It worked incredibly well with ACORN. It crushed the entire organization, and Democrats panicking thought, okay, well, this we can't support, this we can't support. And then it turned out that no, James O'Keefe is a serial liar who destroyed Shirley Sherrod.
Yeah.
And that, at least, that also didn't last. And
with
now,
a huge assist from Breitbart.
what I like with a huge assist from Breitbart, what I like about this is that, so O'Keefe in his settlement, right, he says that it's it's baseless, there's no point in, but he does say here in the settlement, O'Keefe said he, quote, regrets any pain suffered by Mr. Vera or his family, which is interesting. If it's baseless and the guy was merely extorting money from you, then why do you care whether he suffered any pain?
And why did you give him $100,000? Right.
Which, I mean, how much of that could possibly be his money? I'm imagining it was fundraising that was done for his legal fund or something like that.
I hope he gets, and I'm sure I speak for all of us, I hope he gets sued to where he's got nothing left. Keep suing him.
I thought that had already happened.
Apparently not. He's got
Like a couple of
100,000.
years ago, I remember reading some articles about how like Fox News wasn't as interested in having him on anymore because he'd gotten such a bad name online. But apparently he's
Remember,
still
he
kicking around.
broke into Senator Landrieu's office and committed a felony. So, I mean, this guy's a total idiot. And then he harassed all of these women who were working for him, and then they wound up, outing him, and I believe they pursued some charges against him.
Was the boat?
Yeah, there was the boat
Yeah,
thing,
okay.
and he was trying to seduce a reporter. And
Except that was his video that he was trying to make of him seducing her.
No,
he's a psycho.
No, but that's what's amazing about this story. This guy, who is one of the least credible people in America, right, should not be mentioned within the same book as journalism, okay, let alone sentence, right? And this guy, who's an utter fraud, a total scam artist, took down ACORN, an organization that had been around for decades helping the poor.
When did Democrats make that vote? So that obviously was prior to the 2010 midterms because Democrats had a majority. So, I mean,
In 2009, I believe.
so Democrats in that vote in 2009 played a role in undermining their own majority. I'm pretty sure they would have lost that majority anyway with or without ACORN, but may well have cost a couple of seats.
No, and look, let's give credit to a couple of Democrats that were on the right side in the Senate,
Yeah,
but only a couple.
Yeah, if you could bring up the Senate graphic, we've got the 7 Democratic senators who actually voted to protect the funding of
Hey.
ACORN. You might not be surprised by some of those names.
Roland Burris. I
Yeah.
forgot about Roland Burris. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Roll Burrs is a nice trivia question.
It's a great trivia question. Yeah.
Okay, but if you notice, though, of the ones that supported ACORN, now Roland Burris was just an interim senator anyway, so he's on his way out.
Yeah.
The other ones, they all lost their seats, obviously. Oh, wait, right. They all retained their seats. So the people who voted against ACORN for political reasons were total fucking morons who would have suffered no political consequences whatsoever.
I take your argument in the big picture. In the small picture, at the time, of course, there was this overwhelming sense that they had found that this guy had successfully outed ACORN. To me, it has less to do with the politicians, undeniably weak, and more to do with the people whose job it was to report on that story correctly before they ran with the story. Because it wasn't just James O'Keefe that covered it. Once he presented this video and Fox covered it and the Drudge Report covered it, then all the other news organizations covered it and put everybody in this untenable position. And you're requiring I don't mean to, I'm not excusing the politicians at all, but this thing got wildly out of hand. It is a great lesson in how to successfully orchestrate a smear campaign, and also should be a lesson in, hey, maybe this is a smear campaign and slow it down and do your job.